What's going on, everybody? Mr. Octagonal here, and we are back with the 3 Minutes on the Clock podcast, Season 2, Episode number 19. Today, my final 2020 NFL Draft-related video. I know it's so sad, but we're going to be doing the NFC Draft grades. Earlier today, I uploaded my AFC Draft grades, if you'd like to see that. I'll leave the link in the description. It's also in the podcast playlist. And today, we'll be looking at the NFC, going through all 16 teams, grading how they ended up drafting. So without further ado, let's not waste any time, and let's get the show on the road. First up, we got the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to get an A-. I think what they did was maybe look at mock drafts 20 minutes before the draft started. See, oh, this guy's supposed to go high. This guy's supposed to go high. And all of their picks were guys who were projected, at least, to go higher than they should have. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but obviously, I think they still did a pretty good job nonetheless. Round 1, Isaiah Simmons, steal. My number 2 player in the class. I wanted the Lions to pick him at 3. If you don't know, I am a Lions fan. And I think this is a phenomenal pick for the Cardinals. They need O-line bad, but you got to go with the best player on the board sometimes, and that's Isaiah Simmons. Steal at number 8. He's going to be a star. Then round 3, Josh Jones. Everybody thinks this is a steal. Not me. I think it's a good pick, but it's not a steal. A lot of people had a first-round grade on him. A lot of people thought he was really good. I had an early third-round grade on him, so I think this is fair value. I don't think he should have gone a whole lot higher, and to the teams who didn't reach on him, props to you, which I guess is everybody, because no one reached on him, per se. And for the Cardinals, if he is as good as everybody projects, and he's better than I expect, then you got your franchise left tackle. He's really raw. He has a lot of work to do, but he has a nice upside. And then their day 3, I don't think it was great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't phenomenal. Lakefo, too, in the 4th-round defensive tackle out of Utah. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he was their best day 3 pick. But after that, it sort of goes down. Rashard Lawrence, D-tackle, LSU, a player I'm not super high on. Evan Weaver, linebacker, Cal. In round 6, not awful. And then round 7, Eno Benjamin, running back, Arizona State. Another guy who I wasn't super high on, but for the 7th round, not awful value. So the Cardinals are going to get an A-. Good draft, not excellent, but this is a good draft, and if you're a Cardinals fan, you've got to be really excited. Adding DeAndre Hopkins, adding Isaiah Simmons, adding other pieces to this team. Cardinals are going to be really fun to watch next year, let me tell you. It's been a really weird offseason for the Atlanta Falcons. Their free agency was pretty questionable to me. I don't think they had an awful free agency. Todd Gurley is an interesting signing. Same with Dante Fowler. I thought he got overpaid, though. Trading a second for Hayden Hurst, I think, is a little bit of an overpay, but not awful. And I think the draft as well, a little bit questionable, but not awful. Round 1, a little bit of a reach for me. A.J. Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. I have him listed as their worst pick. Obviously, he's not the worst player they picked, but I had him at number 50 on my board. He was my number 9 corner in the draft. I had 6 cornerbacks ranked ahead of him who were still on the board. So because of that, it is a reach, but not an awful pick. Day 2, I like what they did. Marlon Davidson, interior defensive lineman. You can have him as a 4-3 edge rusher. So I think he's versatile, is good against the pass, good against the run. And then Matt Hennessy in round 3, future center of this team. Alex Mack isn't getting any younger. So I thought they did good in day 2. And then day 3, really nothing that pops out to me. Michael Walker, Jalen Hawkins, not bad picks, but neither of them were ranked in my top 150. And then a punter in the 7th, Sterling Hoffrichter from Syracuse. I hope I didn't butcher that. So, not an awful draft from Atlanta, but not one of the better ones either, so they're going to get a C+. The Carolina Panthers had a really interesting draft. They went all defense, didn't draft a single offensive player, and I can respect that. Matt Rule in his first year as head coach really wanting to build that side of the ball up. I can respect that a lot. Derek Brown at pick 7, not a bad pick. Very high floor guy. He's going to create space. He's going to eat up blocks. And he's going to create double teams. And he's not going to be a flashy player, not a flashy pick, but a pretty good one nonetheless. I would have picked Isaiah Simmons here, but not a bad choice for Carolina. Day 2, like what they did. Yetur Gross-Matos with their first second-round selection. I think he's a pretty good player. And then trading up for Jeremy Chin, a guy who I love. Playmaker. He's a guy who you can have at safety. You can have him as a sub linebacker. Really, really like Jeremy Chin. I think he's going to be really fun to watch in the NFL. And then day 3, B, not great, not awful. I like their pick of Troy Pride a lot. Raw corner with a lot of upside. I think he has the chance to be a starter one day. So pretty good draft for the Panthers. They didn't necessarily hit it out of the park, but they did a good job. They're going to get a B+. The Chicago Bears are going to get a B-. Obviously, they did not have a first-round pick because of the Khalil Mack trade. They do have 2 seconds, though. They got Cole Kmet with their first second-rounder. I think that was a bit high for him. I think he was, in the mid-80s on my big board. But to be fair, he is my number 1 tight end in the class, so you can't hate on it too much. The Bears have a lot of depth at tight end, but no one who really stands out. I think Cole Kmet has the chance to stand out. Well-rounded player. I think he has a high floor, and he'll be a good player. One of my favorite picks in the entire draft is cornerback Jalen Johnson, a player who I really like. Physical, tough corner. I think he's going to be really good at the next level. Excellent pick by Chicago. And then day 3, nothing too flashy. Kendall Vilder, I think, is pretty good. Nickel corner from Georgia Southern. Darnell Mooney, talented receiver from Tulane. So not a flashy draft from the Bears, but I really like the Jalen Johnson pick. I'm going to give it a B-. That might be a little bit harsh, but B- nonetheless it is. Drafting for need over value is how you get fired in the NFL. Drafting for value over need is how you win Super Bowls. The Dallas Cowboys did exactly that. They drafted value, value, value. Excellent draft for the Dallas Cowboys. As you all know, I only give 1 A+ every year. It went to the Baltimore Ravens, but the Dallas Cowboys were awfully close. I think they were probably second when it comes to overall drafts, and I guess they did have the best draft in the NFC. Round 1, CeeDee Lamb, number 1 player on the board, number 2 receiver for me in this class. I have Jerry Jeudy ranked a little bit ahead of him, but CeeDee Lamb is a top 10 player in this class, and the Cowboys receiving core is filthy. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, who is a stud, by the way. No clear slot receiver, though. That's the problem. The fit's going to be a little bit awkward, but the talent of those 3 can make it work. Round 2, Trayvon Diggs, cornerback Alabama. I really like that they addressed the secondary early. Chidobe Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, and Anthony Brown is a good cornerback trio, but they're all free agents at the end of the year. The Cowboys don't have a lot of cap space, don't have a lot of flexibility, especially with them having to pay Dak Prescott soon. So they're going to have to let most of those guys go. Also, both of their safeties, for what it's worth, Clinton Dix and Xavier Woods, are also free agents next year. So it's good to draft secondary, even if these guys don't produce a whole lot year 1. And I think Trayvon Diggs will be pretty good year 1. I think he has the chance to be one of the better corners on the roster immediately. So really good pick there. Round 3, Neville Gallimore. Not a guy I love, but for round 3, this is excellent value. Really good run stuffer, freak athlete. He'll slide into the middle of that defense and make an impact. And then day 3, they did great. Reggie Robinson, solid corner from Tulsa. Tyler Biadish, the center from Wisconsin. Cowboy fans, meet your week 1 starting center. Travis Frederick replacement. Has some medical concerns, but has a really high floor. Bradley Anae in round 5, absolute steal. Doesn't have a whole lot of length, but is a really productive player. Another high floor guy. And then Ben DiNucci in the 7th. I don't think that's great value for him. I think there were better quarterbacks like Anthony Gordon, Steven Montez still on the board. But other than that, the Cowboys crushed this draft. A grade. I think the Cowboys are the team to beat right now in the NFC East. As you all know, I am a diehard Detroit Lions fan, so this draft was a very important one for us, and I think we did quite well. I would have liked to have traded down from 3. That hurts this grade a little bit, but we did not have any offers for pick 3. All the rumors saying that there was a bidding war for it, that was smoke. We didn't get a single offer, so that softens the blow a little bit. But at the same time, I would have liked to have made offers to teams like the Dolphins and the Jaguars, teams who could have considered moving up to 3. Even with the Dolphins, even if we only got like a mid-round pick or 2, at least we're getting something for it, with Jeff Okudah still being on the board probably at 5 in this scenario. But I can't fault us for staying at 3, just getting our guy in Okudah. As I said, I would have picked Isaiah Simmons here, but Jeff Okudah is still a really solid pick. I think he has the chance to be a shutdown corner in this league. Isn't a freak athlete, but really good cover corner, good ball skills. Every interview I've seen with him, I'm really impressed. He presents himself very well. At the Combine, one of the reporters asked him about discipline and penalties, and Jeff Okudah clapped back at him, but not in an aggressive way. But he had a really good response, basically saying that he had no pass interference penalties with Ohio State, really good discipline. And then on ESPN, I think last week, they've been having draft prospects coming on asking questions about their draft stock. But no, Jeff Okudah asked about his teammate, Damon Arnett. He asked, why isn't Damon Arnett a first-round guy? So I really like that teammate aspect of Jeff Okudah. I think he'll fit right into the locker room and the culture, and he'll be great. Round 2, DeAndre Swift. Interesting pick. As you all know, I love Kerryon. He's my favorite player on the team, but we do need another running back. I think Kerryon's not a guy who should be getting 25 touches a game, and I think at least early on in his career, I think DeAndre Swift is meant to be more of a running back by committee guy anyway, rather than a bell cow back. I think DeAndre Swift is the best pure runner in this class, and I think him and Kerryon would be a really, really good duo. Round 3, my favorite pick for us in this draft, Julian Okwara, the edge rusher from Notre Dame. He has a first-round ceiling. Wasn't the most productive at Notre Dame, but has a lot of athletic upside. Obviously, his brother Romeo Okwara is also a pass rusher on our team, so the family ties are there. And then we traded up for Jonah Jackson. He's going to start at guard, I think, day 1. Really talented player. We need guard pretty bad, which is why we picked another one in the 4th, Logan Stenberg from Kentucky, doubling down on guards. I think we're bound to find one who we can develop as our future starter. And then after that, the rest of day 3 wasn't great, wasn't awful. Quintez Cephas, receiver from Michigan. Slow guy, but he's a good route runner, good hands. Jason Huntley, I think our worst pick, because it's another running back. We don't need another running back. But I'm still very intrigued by Jason Huntley because I think he'll be more of a specialist in the NFL, more of a kick returner, slot wide receiver at times. So he's listed as a running back, but I don't think he'll play a whole lot of running back. Round 6, John Penisini. I know his name's going to create a lot of memes. Because of that, I'm happy we got him. And then Jeshon Cornell, nothing exciting. So, not a phenomenal draft for the Lions, but I do think it was a good one of Bob Quinn's better drafts. And I think the future is bright in Detroit. As much as I love the Lions, I probably hate the Green Bay Packers even more. And because of that, I love seeing Packers fans think that the world is ending just because they had one bad draft. Believe me, there's a lot worse than having a bad draft. And obviously, the Packers draft was terrible. I don't think a single team did worse than them. As you can see, no wide receivers whatsoever drafted by Green Bay in a historically deep receiver class. But I love that the Packers fans' heads are just spinning out of control because they had one poor draft. Believe me, it could be worse. The Packers have been spoiled for 50 years. They've never had a bad draft in their lives. They've never had a bad roster in their lives. And these fans aren't used to it. So it's about time they got a taste of their own medicine. If you are a Packers fan, this isn't directed at you. You're probably a cool Packers fan. There are plenty of cool Packer fans, I know. But there are some delusional ones. So, round 1, Jordan Love. I don't even think this is a bad pick. I think Jordan Love is their best pick they made. I'm giving it a C+, though. As a Lions fan, I'm partly terrified because if the Packers found themselves another elite quarterback, I'm not going to be happy. And Jordan Love has elite potential. And if he can learn from the best in Aaron Rodgers, then he has a chance to be special. But the only problem is Aaron Rodgers still has plenty of years left in the tank. So I think the Packers have another 3 years with Aaron Rodgers as their starter. And then once Jordan Love comes in, he's only going to have a year or two on that rookie contract. And then he's going to get a massive payday. And we've seen that teams are at their best with quarterbacks under their rookie contract. So not really getting that opportunity with Jordan Love kind of hurts the Packers. But if he develops into a Patrick Mahomes, then does it really matter? Then after that, the rest of their draft was awful. Round 2, A.J. Dillon, a player I really like. I want to see A.J. Dillon do super well, even though he's on the rival. But the thing is, they need wide receiver more. And there were better running backs for me on the board. Zach Moss, Darrington Evans, Anthony McFarland. So, really not a smart pick there for Green Bay, but I really like A.J. Dillon. I think he'll be good down the line, but he's not going to make a huge impact like Jordan Love on day 1. Then round 3, absolute reach for the Lions because he's a reach. Josiah Deguara, Tight end from Cincinnati, one of the worst picks in the draft. I'm not super high on him. And not a wide receiver. Not a guy who's going to make an impact right away. Apparently, the Packers want to play him at fullback. So, the Green Bay Packers have used a first, second, third, and fourth round pick, essentially, on a quarterback who's not going to play for 3 years, a running back, and a fullback. You'd love to see it. Obviously, they didn't have a fourth rounder. They used that to trade up for Jordan Love. And then day 3, they didn't do a good job because they didn't pick a single wide receiver. Not a single one. They need receivers bad. Devontae Adams is elite. Top 5 receiver in the NFL for me. He's the number 4 receiver for me, behind Hopkins, Julio, and Michael Thomas. I think he's the 4th best receiver in the NFL. As you can tell, while I'm a Packer hater, I'm not a biased Packer hater. But after that, it's a train wreck. It's a train wreck. They need receiver bad. Devin Funchess is not it. I don't think Funchess is all that good. They should have drafted receiver way earlier. Maybe moved up in the second for a guy like Denzel Mims. And even in round 3, Donovan Peoples-Jones, KJ Hill, Isaiah Hodgins, all on the board. Devin Duvernay was there in round 3. So I really don't get what the Packers are doing. I think they're really focusing on their future, which I think is good. Even when you're a contender, you have to prepare for the future. But they didn't help themselves at all this year. None of these guys are really going to make a huge impact. And because of that, the Packers will get a D. Laughable draft. But if Jordan Love develops into a star, then this will be an A+. The Los Angeles Rams, for me, are going to get a C+. They didn't have a first rounder. That was in the Jalen Ramsey trade. Round 2, they got Cam Akers, running back, Florida State. And I have him listed as their worst pick. I don't think it's an awful pick. I like Cam Akers. I think he'll be really good. I think he's their best running back on the roster by a decent margin because Darrell Henderson is not good. And I think Cam Akers will be pretty good right off the bat. But J.K. Dobbins was right on the board. And I don't want to nitpick because they drafted a guy who's lower than a certain player on my board. But the problem is Cam Akers was probably about 40 spots lower on my draft board than J.K. Dobbins. I don't know how you can miss a talent like Dobbins, who, for me, was almost the number 1 running back in the class. He was the 5th one taken. Once again, shout out to Baltimore for hitting a grand slam with this draft. So that's why I don't like the Cam Akers pick. I think he'll be a good player. I think he was the 2nd best running back on the board at the time. But the guy they passed up for me is why this is a reach. Van Jefferson later on, I don't know why they went offense with both of their first picks in the 2nd round. I like that they went running back, but I feel like they should have used one of these picks on defense. There were a lot of good linebackers and edge rushers still on the board. Zach Bond, Logan Wilson, Julian Okwara, who were obviously gone by the time they made their next pick. So I wish they would have gone for defense over offensive skill here. But I do think Van Jefferson's a really talented player. If he can stay healthy, he'll be really good. Round 3, they did go defense. They doubled down on defense, to be specific. Terrell Lewis, their best pick, in my opinion. First-round talent, just has to stay healthy. And if he stays healthy, he'll be really good. And then Terrell Burgess, talented safety. Day 3, not bad. Bryson Hopkins is pretty solid value in the late 4th round. I think he can develop behind Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee for a little bit. But other than that, really not a great draft for the Rams. Not awful, but I think they should have gone with certain players and positions over others. So that's why they're going to get a C+. Really solid draft here for the Minnesota Vikings. It feels like they had like 50 picks and did a really good job of capitalizing, starting with Justin Jefferson and Jeff Gladney in round 1. Both of them really filling needs. Jefferson could be the Stephon Diggs replacement. More of a slot guy, but with Adam Thielen there, I think Jefferson can transition fine to the outside. Very productive this year at LSU. I think he'll be great, high-floor player. And then Jeff Gladney, another high-floor guy, physical corner, a little bit older. I believe he's 23, but talented player. And I've been high on him for a while, so I'm happy he was a first-round pick to make me look smart, because I've had him as a first-rounder since January, when most people had him as a first-rounder since, like, March. So a little pat on the back there for me. Round 2, Ezra Cleveland, tackle Boise State. I'm not too high on him. I think I have a late 4th-round grade on him. I know a lot of people think this is great value. I just don't see it. I don't think he's all that good. Tested well at the Combine. He's very athletic. He'll probably sit this year and develop, and if he can live up to his upside, he will be good. but I just don't think he's all that. And then Cam Dantzler, big-bodied corner, once again addressing that big position of need. So pretty solid day 2, not great. And then day 3, they had a bazillion picks, and they used most of them, and they found some good gems. James Lynch out of Baylor, very productive. Troy Dye, leadership, toughness. That's what he brings to the defense. Loved him at Oregon. Harrison Hand, versatile defensive back out of Temple. Kenny Willekes, really, really good player. I don't know how he fell to the 7th round. High floor guy. He'll make an impact at the next level. He won't be a star, but he'll be a good player, and because of that, I think the Vikings did a really good job of finding some late-round gems, and they're going to get an A-. I think a lot of people might give them an even higher grade, so shout out to the Vikings for doing a really good job. The New Orleans Saints only had 4 picks, but they made the most of them. Starting in round 1, I would have picked Jordan Love or Patrick Queen there, but you can't go wrong with Cesar Ruiz. He's the best interior offensive lineman in this class. Really good player. He's raw, but has a ton of upside. And now you got your offensive line set for a while. Terron Armstead, Andrus Peat, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, and Ryan Ramczyk. That's an elite unit. So, good pick here for New Orleans, day 2. Trading up for Zach Baun and Adam Trautman, pretty much giving up all of their day 3 picks for the most part. Baun is really good value. Should have probably gone in the 2nd. Hybrid edge / linebacker, can drop into coverage. I'm surprised he fell. And then Adam Trautman, my number 2 ranked tight end. He was like the 5th or 6th off the board. So, nice value for New Orleans. Really, you could have had any of those 3 guys as the best pick. I just went with Baun because he was the best value of the group. But I don't think Baun was that much better of a pick than either Ruiz or Trautman. And then day 3, they didn't have any picks until the 7th. They moved up for Tommy Stevens. I don't think he's all that good. Probably wouldn't have drafted him. Maybe took a flyer on him as an undrafted free agent, but I wouldn't have traded up for him. But still, pretty good draft for the Saints. They're going to get a B+, adding 3 really good players in Ruiz, Baun, and Trautman. We have been clowning Dave Gettleman for a while, but I really think he is starting to figure it out. We clowned him for the Odell trade. That looks like a massive win right now for the Giants. We clowned him for picking Daniel Jones, and I still think that's a little bit of a reach, but he played better than we all expected. I clowned him personally for his free agency this year. Blake Martinez might have been the worst signing of any free agent this year. James Bradbury was overpaid, so he's still not a good GM, but he's improving. He had a really good draft, though. Andrew Thomas at 4. He's my number 4 tackle in the class, but as I said earlier, you could really put these tackles in any order. Actually, I don't think I said that earlier. I think I said that in the AFC draft grades. My bad. But you could put the top 4 tackles in any order. Thomas was number 4, but I think he's the most polished of the group. He just has the lowest ceiling, and I think he'll be a quality starter. Day 2, they killed it. Xavier McKinney, really good pick. I had Antoine Winfield ranked a little bit ahead of him, but McKinney's the best pure safety in the class. And then Matt Peart in the late 3rd. Excellent value, super long arms, a guy who has a lot of upside to be very good. And then day 3, they did well too. Darnay Holmes in round 4, raw corner of upside. Shane Lemieux, really good player in the 5th. I think he has the chance to be a potential starter one day. Carter Coughlin in the 7th, edge rusher out of Minnesota, pretty talented player. So a good draft for the Giants, A- grade. I'm very impressed with Dave Gettleman's draft. And I don't think the Giants will be all that good next year, but if Daniel Jones can progress, then maybe this is a sneaky team to watch out for. This was a very weird draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think it was terrible, but I don't think it was great either. Starting in round 1, Jalen Reagor, wide receiver out of TCU. I really like the player. I'm super high on Jalen Reagor, but I don't think he's an excellent fit because where the Eagles' receiving core is at, there's some talent. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, but those guys, you cannot trust them to stay healthy. Deshaun Jackson will play well the first 2 weeks, and you won't hear from him until week 8, and then you won't hear from him until week 15, and then he'll be done for the year. So you can't trust him to stay healthy. Alshon Jeffrey's time in Philly looks like it's pretty much over. So they had to go receiver here, but I think there were a few guys who made more sense than Jalen Reagor because I think they should have gone for a more high-floor player like a Justin Jefferson, like a Brandon Ayuk. I guess at the time, Denzel Mims made sense, but since he fell to the late 2nd, I guess that would technically be a reach. I think Jalen Reagor has the highest ceiling of all of those guys, but for where Philly is, I don't think he makes a lot of sense, and especially trading for Marquise Goodwin, too, who's a very similar player. Small, but burners. I like that the Eagles are getting guys who can stretch the field, make it Deshaun Jackson-like impact, but I just think they could have used this pick on a better fit than Jalen Reagor. Day 2, a little bit weird. Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma. Yeah, I think I don't hate the pick, but I feel like you should be drafting a quarterback if your team is set, and the Eagles roster is not set. They still need linebacking help. They still needed cornerback help. They still needed wide receiver help, maybe another pass rusher. So I don't hate drafting a backup quarterback because we know Carson Wentz is a little bit injury prone. I know here come the Eagle fans saying that he started all 16 games last year. Yes, he did start all 16 games last year. Thanks, Captain Obvious. The Eagles have also played in how many playoff games? I think 6 playoff games since they drafted Carson Wentz. Wentz has played 1 quarter of a possible 24 quarters. You cannot trust him to stay healthy. I understand he played 16 games last year. That doesn't change the fact that he's injury prone. Jalen Hurts can also have a Taysom Hill-like role, an athletic quarterback who can make plays with the ball in his hands. But I think for the second round, that's a little bit high if that's the role you want for him. So that's why I don't think it was that good of a pick. Then their other day 2 pick, Davion Taylor. I really like this pick. Taylor's a guy I really like. I first looked at him only a couple days before the draft, so that's why I think he was pretty low on my board. I think he was at number 150 exactly, but I really like him. I think this pick makes sense for the Eagles, and then they crushed it for day 3. Kevon Wallace in the 4th. He'll make an impact early on. He's a really good player. Jack Driscoll, one of the more polished offensive tackles in this class. John Hightower, talented receiver out of Boise State. And then at the 6th, absolute steal, and Prince Tagawanago out of Auburn. I think he was a top 100 player in the class. He's really raw, but has a ton of upside. So really good day 3 from the Eagles, and that saves their grade from being really bad. So they're going to get a C+. There are only a few things certain in life: death, taxes, and the Seahawks doing one of the following things with their first-round pick: either trading back, drafting a third-round talent, or drafting a running back. And to be specific, drafting a running back with a third-round talent. That they did. They drafted a third-round talent linebacker in Jordan Brooks, a player who does have nice upside. I like his ceiling, very athletic. And I don't think this is an awful pick, but Patrick Queen was right on the board. And I don't even think they needed a linebacker that bad. I understand Bobby Wagner's not getting any younger, so I don't hate that they went with this position. But there were other linebackers. I think I had Logan Wilson a little bit lower than him, but still, guys like Akeem Davis-Gaither, Willie Gay, Malik Harrison, and obviously Patrick Queen were all on the board, all ranked ahead of him. I think he has a higher ceiling than most of those guys, but still, I don't love the pick. Round 2, they traded up for Darrell Taylor. I don't hate the move. I like Darrell Taylor a lot. I think there were better edge rushers still on the board. Curtis Weaver, Julian Aquara, Zach Bond, Josh Uche. I don't hate the pick. I think when healthy, Darrell Taylor, it could be a really good player, so not an awful pick for Seattle. Then Damian Lewis in the 3rd, talented guard. Finally, the Seahawks trying to at least address that offensive line. And then day 3, no one who really pops out at me. Colby Parkinson, not bad. DJ Dallas, not bad. Alton Robinson, not bad. So the Seahawks are going to get a C. I don't think this is a terrible draft, but I also don't think it's a good draft either. Something I really wanted to happen was for the San Francisco 49ers to get Javon Kinlaw, and that they did. And the reason is that because all the 49ers fans wanted them to pick a receiver there. They wanted Judy or Lamb or Ruggs. Both Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb were on the board, and they went with Javon Kinlaw. And I know Niners fans hated this pick for whatever reason, so now you're forced to have him. And let me just tell you, he's a really good player when healthy. Easily the highest ceiling for any defensive tackle in this draft class. Really good pass rusher, pretty good against the run. So not only for the sake of Niners fans, I'm happy that they're getting a good player, but I'm happy that they can now educate themselves on why Javon Kinlaw to the Niners makes sense. Solomon Thomas ain't it. DJ Jones ain't it. Got to get your DeForest Buckner replacement. Javon Kinlaw is a very similar player to DeForest Buckner, but younger, cheaper, and I guess for right now a little bit worse. Then they also traded up for Brandon Ayuk. I don't love that they moved up, but I really like the player and the fit. Brandon Ayuk is one of my favorite players in this draft class. I'm happy he went round 1. He deserves to go round 1. And the Niners need receivers pretty bad, obviously. I don't think Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb would have been a bad pick at 14, obviously. But I think getting Kinlaw there and then adding Brandon Ayuk, a really good receiver after the catch, needs to work on his route running, but he plays big, physical receiver. Really like him. Didn't have any day 2 picks. And then day 3, it was a busy day for the Niners. They traded a 5th and a 3rd next year for Trent Williams, the Joe Staley replacement. He's an elite left tackle. They swapped 6th with the Eagles and traded Marquise Goodwin. So far, 2 pretty big trades for the Niners. Neither of them are super bad. Marquise Goodwin just really wasn't working out anymore in San Francisco, so I can't blame them for that. And then Trent Williams is an elite tackle. But the move I don't get is Matt Breida for a 5th-round pick. The Dolphins got an absolute steal. I understand Matt Breida isn't the youngest. I understand the Niners have a lot of talent in that backfield. But I think Matt Breida was their best running back last year, so I don't understand moving on from him. And they had a really good thing going at running back, and it's not like they drafted a replacement either, so questionable trade there. Not a whole lot of great value picks on day 3, so really questionable moves yesterday for the Niners other than the Trent Williams trade, but they're still going to get a B+. Brandon Ayuk and Javon Kinlaw are going to be great. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a great job in this draft. Of course, they had the 14th pick. They saw Tristan Wirfs available at 13, and they said, screw it. Might as well go ahead and get him. You can't risk him falling. Bucs need offensive line bad. Tristan Wirfs was far and away the best one on the board, so I applaud the move there, A+. And then another A+ pick in the 2nd round, Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota. My number 1 safety in the class. He's a playmaker. You can have him at safety, slot corner. He does a bunch of different things. Very versatile defender. The Bucs really have gone hard in the secondary the past few years, and they haven't done a very good job. Last year, though, they did. Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jamil Dean both looked really good. Mike Edwards, there's still potential to be had with him. Justin Evans is still a talented player. So there's a lot of still young developing players in that secondary. Carlton Davis, MJ Stewart were second-rounders a couple years ago. So there's a lot of young talent in that secondary. And the fun thing about Winfield is he can almost go anywhere, which is why I think his versatility is why this pick is really fun. So the Bucs were in line for a potential A+, but after that, I'm not in love with what they did. Round 3, Keyshawn Vaughn, running back Vanderbilt. Decent player. He's a freak athlete, but I think there were better running backs on the board. I think he's really raw, so not a great pick there. And then day 3, not great either. I know a lot of people really like Tyler Johnson. I'm not a huge Tyler Johnson guy. I think in round 5, he's pretty good value, but I don't think he's as good as people really think he is. He's a talented receiver, but I don't think he's anything too special. And then the rest of day 3, really nothing too crazy. So they're going to get an A-. Good draft for the Bucs. Really good first 2 picks in Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr. Sort of dips off after that, but if you're a Bucs fan, you should be pretty excited about this upcoming season. The final team to talk about today is the Washington Redskins, and they had themselves another great draft. Round 1, they got the best player in the class, Chase Young. Very easy pick. Don't really have to talk about throwing in depth too much because it was such an obvious choice. Day 2, they did not have a second-rounder. That was part of a Montez Sweat trade-up last year. Then in their 3rd-round pick, they went with Antonio Gibson, running back Memphis. Running back, receiver, very versatile player. I'm very curious to see where the Redskins are going to have him going down the line. I'm curious what all the different things they're going to do with him is, and I'm curious to see how his career pans out. So, pretty fun pick there. And then day 3, they did really well. Sadiq Charles in round 4, really nice value. Of course, they just traded away Trent Williams. I thought they got pretty good value for, obviously, a guy who didn't want to be there. They didn't really have a whole lot of leverage, so I think they could have gotten a lot worse value than what they did, and Sadiq Charles has the chance to be a nice replacement. They also got Antonio Gandy-Golden, really fun wide receiver. They shared a bunch of interesting fun facts about him yesterday. He can solve a Rubik's Cube under a minute. 2 months after he started bowling, he bowled a perfect 300. And he's a fun receiver, too. Good jump ball, big-bodied guy. Not a super athletic guy, but I think he'll be a really fun player to watch in the NFL. Khaleke Hudson, I think, was their other notable pick. Versatile, athletic player. You can have him at linebacker, safety, sort of a hybrid-type player. So I think he'll be a fun player to watch. And then their last pick, James Smith-Williams, really talented player. If he can stay healthy, then that'll be really good value for the 7th round. So that'll do it for this episode, the final 2020 NFL Draft-related video. I know, Draft season is coming to a close, which is very sad, but a lot of NBA draft content now will be coming out the next couple of months until June, so make sure to stay on the lookout for that. As always, have a good one. Peace out.